Okay, so let me start the introduction by introducing you to the panelists. We have on the table Dr. Shailesh Rao. Dr. Shailesh Rao calls himself a salesman of ahimsa and non-violence, but this is just a snapshot of the wonderful work that he's doing. He's a systems specialist with a PhD in electrical engineering from Stanford University. In 2006, he switched careers and became deeply immersed in solving the environmental crisis affecting humanity. He went on to establish Climate Healers, a non-profit organization dedicated towards healing the Earth's climate. He is the author of 2 books, Carbon Dharma, The Occupation of Butterflies, and Karma Yoga, The Vegetarian Metamorphosis. He is the executive producer of 5 perception-changing documentaries like The Human Experiment, Cowspiracy, The Sustainable Secret, What the Health, and A Prayer for Compassion. Dr. Rao has promised his granddaughter that we see in the picture today, Kimea, that the world will be largely vegan before she turns 16 in 2016. Next, this is his website, climatehealers.org. We will be sharing all the resource links later, so do follow and share this website as well. Next, the second panelist is Dr. Tushar Mehta. Dr. Tushar Mehta has completed medical school and residency at the University of Toronto, Canada. He has spent many years practicing family medicine and addictions medicine, and presently he is the ER doc at Georgetown Memorial Hospital. He's been a regular speaker at the Ahimsa Festival 2017 and 2020, the Veg Fest in UK, and other talks across India. This way, he has been closely involved in pushing the vegan movement forward in Mumbai, across India, and even overseas. For many years, on an annual basis, Dr. Mehta has volunteered at a medical camp in the Kutch district of India and currently volunteers with a project in Haiti as well. In addition to humanitarian projects, Dr. Mehta takes a strong interest in medical evidence and environmental science regarding plant-based diet and health. He lectures on the topic in Canada and abroad and is passionate about interconnectedness of the human, animal, and environmental well-being. He has very recently launched his website called plantbaseddata.org, and we'll be sharing the links a little later. He has co-founded this website with Nicholas Carter. The third and final panelist is Dr. Rupa Shah. Dr. Rupa Shah is an allopathic MBBS doctor primarily, but has done intensive research in medicine and holistic healing. She has a single-minded vision of a healthy vegan community. So some years ago, she aimed to bring together thought leaders to spark an internal revolution. And with this dream, she co-founded the Ahimsa Parmo Dharma group. The group organized India's first and largest vegan festival since 2016, the Ahimsa Festival. These festivals established a roadmap that triggered an all-India movement. And she didn't stop there. She went on to publish a series of books and the recently launched magazine Compassion. So here is Dr. Rupa Shah. She's a founder of Circle of Health and a G2 Digital Women Warriors Award winner. Since we are done with the introductions, we are going to move on with the seminar. But before that, I would like to make an announcement. Today is a very special day for us. It's World Milk Day. And at the same time, we are also launching the Compassion India, the magazine that we launched on 1st November. We are also launching the website today itself. That's compassionmagazine.in. So we are very proud. It's a very proud moment for us. And we will be sharing the links in our chat box as well. And we have another tiny announcement to make, that one of our managing editors, Vatsal Nathwani, he's a boy genius in our group. He's had an exclusive interview of Menka Gandhi that will be up very soon. So today is a very special day for us and a very special day for him because of his achievement of getting Menka Gandhi on board. Anyway, let us begin with the questions now. Do we have Dr. Nandita Shah? Is she here? All right. We were expecting Dr. Nandita Shah here. Anyway, so we begin with the questions. I would like to start with the first question to Dr. Shailesh Rao. If Dr. Shailesh Rao can able his speaker and his video. Dr. Shailesh Rao, he was here a moment ago.
Dr. Shailesh Rao. I saw, yeah. Okay, I'll unmute him. Right. Hello, sir. Welcome.
Hello, how are you?
Yes,
Thank you.
fine. We can hear you.
Okay, good.
Okay. All right. So the first question is for Dr. Shailesh Rao. What is wrong with us consuming dairy products when, especially in a nation like India, who's obsessed with dairy? Since we are so obsessed with dairy, it can't be so wrong, right? That everyone's obsessed with dairy. And Lord Krishna himself loved butter. So what is wrong with this whole picture?
That's a very good question, because Lord Krishna's consumption of butter has been used to sell butter to us these days. And we have to understand that the wisdom of our ancestors is coded in all these stories of Mahabharata and Krishna. And Krishna's stories have a lot of symbolism. So Lord Krishna also lifted a mountain with his little finger to shelter the people of Gokul. And none of us go around lifting mountains with a little finger because Lord Krishna did it, right? Lord Krishna danced on the hood of a seven-headed snake, playing the flute. And none of us go looking for a seven-headed snake and start dancing on the hood of that. Yet just because Lord Krishna ate butter, we want to go eat butter. So we have to understand the symbolism of the stories and then recognize what is it that we are being told? What is it that we are being taught? And when Lord Krishna lifted a mountain with his little finger and sheltered the people of Gokul, it was basically a symbolism that if you believe in Krishna, if you have faith in Krishna, then he will shelter you from the tribulations of life. He danced on the hood of a seven-headed snake, meaning he overcame his seven chakras. So he opened his seven chakras, and this is why he's playing the flute, because the flute has seven holes that are open. So he has overcome his fear, guilt, shame, grief, lies, delusions, and attachments, and he has become enlightened. Okay? So that's the symbolism of Lord Krishna dancing on the hood of a seven-headed snake, Kaliya. So Lord Krishna eating butter also has the same kind of symbolism. Milk represents the fluid mind that has doubts about God. To that you add curd, which is the thought of God, and you let it curdle for a while. And then you churn that, you get butter, which is the solid mind that has no more doubts about God. So it's the mind of a devotee. This is why Lord Krishna loves butter, because Lord Krishna loves the mind of a devotee. So the beauty of these stories is that they have coded, our ancestors have coded all their wisdom in these stories and given it to us, that we can remember that, we can understand that, and we can follow that. The Mahabharata, which is where Lord Krishna played such a big part, is full of such stories. And in fact, one of the characters of the Mahabharata is the Dronacharya. And Dronacharya is the teacher of both the Kauravas and the Pandavas. So both the bad side and the good side, he was a teacher. And yet he fought for the bad side. He fought for the Kauravas in the Battle of Kurukshetra. So you ask, why did he fight for the Kauravas when he's a teacher of the Pandavas? And the reason is, Dronacharya represents culture and traditions. And so basically, if you follow culture and traditions blindly, you'll be fighting for the Kauravas. So that's the symbolism of Dronacharya fighting for the Kauravas, which means we have a duty, each one of us, we have a duty to reimagine our traditions. We have to reinvent our traditions and culture every generation. Okay? So depending on what the circumstances are. And so this is why just following something blindly because that's what was told in the story is just not in our culture, actually. We have to question.
I think I fully agree with you. You know, we have a great tradition of using milk in Prasad, in temples, in various ceremonies. Even if there is a good occasion, first we will, make something, from curd or some panchamrut, 5 different things. We mix it up and then we use it. And all the sweets are usually made of some, dairy products, maybe ghee. Ghee is very often used. It's also used in various ceremonies. It's kind of deeply linked in our Vedic Aryan culture because Aryans came and did the organized farming and they needed help. So they brought cattle with them. And then the kettles and human beings always living in harmony together, they were using all the dairy products. So that is the scenario. Nandita?
Nandita, you're muted.
Yeah, she's muted.
All right. The next question is for Dr. Rupa Shah. Milk is traditionally considered as a superfood. So now what is wrong with milk?
So milk, the concept, particularly in this part of the world, milk is a must. Without milk, they will say in Hindi, tum bada kaisa hoga. Gujarati, they say moto kevi rite thase. Milk you have to drink. As soon as, the mother has weaned off, they always look for another white liquid that is something milk, cow's milk, And so they start feeding, and even if baby doesn't want to, they will close the nose and then open the mouth and then make baby drink. And if baby, doesn't like and spits out, then they will, what they'll do? Put some sugar in it, put some chocolate in it, but make baby somehow get addicted to outside milk. So because the concept is very deep, and I'm sure today in the audience there'll be many moms who probably ran around their children with a glass of milk, and like milk is a must, milk is a must, and even if a woman is pregnant and maybe she doesn't want to have milk, they will force, that no, baby needs it. Even for the sake of baby, you must have milk. So this is very deep in our culture, in our day-to-day life, in our concepts, and it's a superfood. But what happened about 50 years ago, just a few years after my birth, I saw that there was scarcity of milk and there were milk booths around every area, and we all used to have a card, and there was a rationing of the milk, and the milk was given in glass bottle, and there were various color covers, like blue and yellow, and so there was a tone milk. I think probably it was made from the powder that was imported from New Zealand or some country, and then there was a whole milk, and so and there was a yellow color one, silvery looking, that was cow's milk. So all this was, scarcity was there. Once the milk industry got organized, the commercialization started in. Earlier on, usually someone in the village who had a cow was a rich man. Or if you had many cows, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, that was like a capital. Capital is head, how many animals you have. So he was then like a rich man. And the cows became pregnant naturally. Cows gave milk, gave the birth to a baby and gave milk naturally. There was no refrigeration. There was no transporting of the milk. Whatever milk was there was given to the calf first. And anything that was left over was then finally used into the household. Because there was no refrigeration, it was immediately converted into yogurt, and the last stage, ghee. This was just before the commercialization started. Once the commercialization started, suddenly the milk can be sold. And the cow was seen as a milk making machine, money making machine. Earlier, we were only drinking mostly cow's milk, they said. And then the buffalo, they said, no, buffalo is very lazy. Who will drink buffalo's milk? But then buffalo's milk has higher fat content. And so the buffalo breeding started. And then the numbers game started, calculation started. This many cows, if she becomes pregnant in this much time, if she delivers a calf, then she will give milk this much quantity for this much time. And this is you sell in the market, and this much is your profit. And these calculations gave way to the organized industry, and then the cooperatives started coming in, and then they started collecting milk from every household, and suddenly, like having a one cow, two cow, or a few buffaloes, was like a business. Once the business point of view came in, then everything else got in. It was like somebody said there's a hormone, and the cow will give 2 liters more or 5 liters more. Okay, pitocin injections. Then the machines came in. You take out milk with the machine, and then there is repeated injury. Then the antibiotics came in. Then artificial insemination came in, because once the calf is of a certain age, if she's a female calf, she should be pregnant and start giving milk at some point when she delivers a calf. So the hormone injections were given, and the baby was retained, and then the finally baby was delivered like calf, and then the milk production started. If it was a male calf, of course there was no use, but if it was a female calf, then she was given some milk only 2 times a day, and it got highly organized. So there were antibiotics, there were hormones, there was refrigeration, and milk travel distances. Because it traveled distances, there was also some preservative. So this changed completely. Then the fat content, then the buffaloes came in. And then finally somebody got brilliant idea of importing Jersey cows from Europe, because Jersey cow now gives lots of milk. The Deshi was just 5 to 6 liters, Jersey 15 liters. Oh wow, some of them maybe 20 more. So the Jersey cow got introduced in our country, and gradually all the Deshi cows disappeared and it got replaced. Many years ago, I remember I visited one organic dairy farm, and I said, oh wow, organic, let's go and see. And then right at the entrance, I just asked a single question. I'm sure you have Deshi cows. He said, no, madam. I have only Jersey cows. It's all organic. I don't give any chemicals. I said, why? He said, I can't afford a Deshi cow. Then I cannot afford a dairy farm. I can't do the business. I have to have Jersey cows. So though they were organic milk producer, they had all the Jersey cows. But this is what has happened to the entire industry. And that's where all the changes started. Then earlier the cow was grazing and having the herbs and whatever she liked from morning to night. Her intestines are made in that way that she should eat grass and herbs and not any other food. And then there will be a digestion, which is a very long process, and finally the milk will be there. So, but now like she's standing at one place, she's given dry grass, and sometimes grains are given. She's not supposed to eat grains really. She's supposed to eat grass, but the grains were given. So there's a lot of wastage of food, lot of water resources also wasted on producing the grains first, then giving it to the cow, and then she eats it, then she gives milk, and then it's like very costly production. So now what has happened because of all this, plus there are other issues like naturally if you see that calf drinks cow's milk and the composition is exactly according to that, and if we humans drink, then it is not going to suit us. So now because of all these concoctions, lot of pesticides, lot of antibiotics, everything has changed, and we see suddenly India becoming diabetes capital of the world. Loads and loads of diabetes cases, even as young as 15-year-old, I see them, with diabetes so early in life. They're already obese, they have thyroid issues. Why? Because dairy and dairy products. When I was young, we had only seen one Amul cheese, little bit small cube. maybe once in few months. And now there are like 40, 50 kinds of cheese imported from all over the world available in the market. And I have seen in my clinic many cheese addicts. Many people love ice cream. So many people love ghee, curd. So it's like there's a casomorphin in it that addicts. And so this entire subcontinent is milk loving country. You don't see so much in Burma or Sri Lanka or even Japan, but India. India is number one, and as it is also culturally very woven, so we'll end up consuming far too much. I always mention that a South Indian loves his curd rice. A Bengali person wants his rasagulla. A Punjabi person wants his paneer. A Gujarati or Kutchi wants his buttermilk. In Maharashtra also they want their tak, and so all these things together, some or other form, we taking dairy products, the entire nation is hooked on. And suddenly if one of us tell that there's something wrong with dairy products, they are surprised. I can tell them, will you leave tomatoes for a month? They'll be happy to leave. But moment I say, will you leave milk for a month? They say, oh, no, how can I need my chai in the morning. So I understand. I've been doing this for more than 13 years now. And I do have dialogues with my patients on a day-to-day basis. And I understand that it was a food that was favored by Indians, but now is not the time. Now it's the time that instead the milk is not nurturing us. Actually, it is gifting us the diseases. Nandita.
Yes, would like Dr. Mehta like to add to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a couple of points to this. Can everybody hear me okay? I hope so.
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. In terms of the tradition from the medical point of view, and people do and did like dairy products, and in different parts of the world, different kinds of animal products, or in China, they liked soy in the same way, because in the old days, food scarcity was a big issue. It's very difficult to get enough food, to get enough protein, to get enough calories. It's very difficult thing. So people liked when they can get a lot of calories and a lot of protein in one shot. So that's why people liked dairy at that time. People liked meat in different parts of the world, or in some places, different kinds of lentils and beans that were highly valued, right? Now, in modern times, we have so many different selections. So our goal is not just to survive. Our goal is to live until we're 80 years old, 90 years old. And in fact, when we're 80 or 90 years old, we still want to play with the grandkids, great grandkids, go hiking and climbing and be very active. So dairy and meat or those kind of things may help you survive at one time in history, but now our goals are far beyond survival, and we're fighting against things like diabetes and cancer and all that kind of stuff in our older age. So there's good medical reason to replace dairy. We can see why people liked it in the past, but we can see also why something better is here for us now. And the second comment I have is that I don't want people to think that just because you have a desi cow, or you're in a village where they're doing quote unquote naturally, or any of those kind of things, right? Even in those days, in the old times, cows are not a natural animal. Cows are a derivative from another animal called a yurok. The yurok is extinct, and we have bred cows for a few millennia, and created from the yurok, we've created a species of cows, whether it's the Jersey or the Desi cow. They don't exist as wild animals. There's no such thing as a wild animal cow. It's not natural. Everything has been created by humans. And even though the old days were probably better, they were not necessarily perfect. In those days, there was a few million people in the world. But now India itself has over 1 billion people, and the Earth itself has almost 8 billion people right now. So there's no such thing that we can go back to the old days and supply ourselves with something, on a wide scale that mimics the old situation. So I don't want people to think that the old situation is some kind of ideal that we can reach again through having desi cows or other things. All of those things, if we try to do it now with billions of people, are going to result in the same health problems, the same environmental problems as well. So we don't want to think that, you know, just the modern dairy industry of factory farming is bad. But if you try the old system on a wider scale, you're going to still have similar problems.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mehta. Would Dr. Rao like to add to that?
Yeah, I was going to talk about the chemical pollution of the planet. So we did a documentary called The Human Experiment, in which we showed that human beings are pouring something like 250 billion tons of toxic chemicals into the environment every year. So 4 times as much toxic chemicals as we pour CO2 into the atmosphere. Okay? And all those toxic chemicals are working their way up the food chain. And they get more and more concentrated in animal foods. So and most of these toxic chemicals are also lipophilic. They stick to fat cells. So which means that milk contains a lot of these chemicals, industrial pollutants that we never had, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. So they're all coming to us in concentrated doses when we take that milk and turn that into butter or ghee and eat it. So this is why it is what used to be good a few thousand years ago is no longer good today. We have to change with our times.
So that brings me to the next question, that why is now the time for humanity to wean ourselves from cow's milk? You've already answered some of it.
Yeah, the circumstances are showing us that this is no longer a good food for us to eat. Okay? It is bad for our health, it's bad for the cow, it's bad for the environment. So we know all these things. And also as a species, we are a very young species. Okay? So we are only about, in our present form, we've been only around for about 200,000 years, compared to the wolf that has been around for millions of years, hundreds of millions of years too. So lots of animals that are much, much older than us. And so we are this very young species, and we were mothered by the cow during this early stage of our infancy. Okay, so the cow gave us milk, sustained us during this agricultural period where we cut down forests, and in the process we actually kept the temperature constant on Earth. So we did something amazing for the Earth. We have created homeostasis for planet Earth. Okay? So and if we did that with the help of the cow, with the help of the dogs, with the help of the animals. The cow was literally our mother during this time. But any infant eventually weans from the mother. So at some point, the infant grows up to be big enough, old enough to say, I don't need the milk anymore. And if you look at our circumstances today, we are at that stage where we really know, we don't need the milk anymore. In fact, it is killing us if we keep drinking this milk. So we have to wean ourselves off of it, just like any baby would wean off the mother's milk when they're older.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Rao.
Yeah, they say that, that in Hindi, there's a word, they say, Abhi bhi tum kya doodh pita hua bachcha hai kya? So, we use this sentence so easily, but we all end up drinking milk and we are still doodh pite hue bachche hundi, na? Or sometimes we use another word, grow up. When are you going to grow up? You must give up milk. So we all need to grow up by giving up the dairy products, wean off ourselves completely.
So, Dr. Rupa Shah, what is the real price we pay health-wise when we choose to consume dairy products?
So the diseases are so many, like I was trying to make a list of it, and then I kept adding more and more. It's a long list. It starts right from obesity, type 2 diabetes, some of the autoimmune disorders, hypertension, heart disease, various allergies, and thyroid problem, PCOD, infertility, so many. The list goes on and on. And it all starts as early as I said, 15 years, starts with obesity, and then gradually all other diseases starts creeping in. Now, and a nation of very sick people, very obese, a burden on the healthcare system, what will we perform? What will we do? Our healthcare bills will be much more, and our productivity will be very down. This is the biggest cost that we have to pay for that one glass of milk. The milk is sort of not necessarily that 70 rupees a liter or something. That's kind of just nothing, you know. Plus, it's highly adulterated. They recently did sampling across India, and there were hardly only government did this testing, and they found hardly 2 states had proper pure milk, but everything else was adulterated. Then there's another parallel industry running where actually they make artificial milk, but there's no milk at all. So looking at all these things, the kind of diseases that it gives us, and then all the drugs that are required for lifelong are the huge burden on the society. I usually see if I visit a family and if I enter the kitchen, then I open the pantry and I take out a few things, and then I can easily say in this household, you have to have obesity, or you have somebody with diabetes, someone with thyroid, someone with PCOS, and usually like a member, 5-member family has all of it that I have mentioned. So what are we doing? You know, food and diseases, they are very deeply linked, and you're paying for the milk and taking these diseases as a gift. And on the top of it, most of us are brainwashed thinking that these diseases are not reversible. So we'll end up taking a lot of allopathic medications which are very expensive. Then there are drug interactions. Then finally, like, it's a gone case. So the health is affected very badly. This is going to be the trouble in future. This is my understanding.
Mhm. Okay. So the next question is for Dr. Tushar Mehta. Is soy milk a good alternative for dairy, or should we use another alternative?
Okay. First, I just want to reiterate some of the diseases that Rupa Ben just spoke about. So dairy is, linked to so many of those diseases, as you mentioned. I want to highlight some of the main ones, out of so many broad diseases. Let's pick out some of the big ones. Okay. So obesity, it's very linked to obesity. Secondly, diabetes. It's a huge problem in India. Dairy is one of the big causes of diabetes. And then cancers. There are certain cancers that are increased by dairy consumption. I want to just highlight one of them especially, and that is prostate cancer for men. There's very good evidence that people who consume more dairy have a higher incidence of prostate cancer. And then there's, of course, a few other cancers and a few other problems, but I don't want to get into too many details there, but, some of the big diseases that we face are definitely exacerbated by dairy, okay? And that's not just the industrial dairy. Even if you get 100% so-called natural dairy from an organic cow or all that kind of stuff, you're going to have the same problems. So I don't want to, people to get the idea that it's just because of adulterated milk. Even the best quality milk that you can get from the best organic, best cow, it has the same problems, okay? And especially associated with the dairy fats, and part of it is due to toxins, but even if you had it without toxins, you're gonna still result in a lot of the same problems. So replacing dairy, what else can we have? Because we have so many different kind of milks in our recipes, in our food, in our traditions, and this is in India, and it's across the world also, right? So it's hard to give it up because it's so much in our food. And also, dairy does provide us some things that we need. For a lot of my family who are vegetarian, they maybe get 30% or 40% of their protein from dairy products, okay? That's a very important point. Although dairy has some bad qualities, you get calcium from dairy and you get protein from dairy. Those are two things that we need, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about the good replacement. So you can, there's all these milks out there. There's almond milk, oat milk, hemp milk, soy milk, and so many other, coconut milks and all that. Which is the best one? The one I recommend the most is soy milk, okay? And here's why. Soy has the highest amount of protein, okay? You can get 7 or 8 grams per glass of milk. When I say a glass, I mean 250 ml glass of milk, okay? You should be able to get 7 or 8 grams of protein from that one glass. We should be able to get calcium, we should be able to get vitamin B12 as well. Now, soy, out of all these things, is very demonized by the meat and dairy industry. For decades, they've been trying to tell us that soy has estrogen, soy causes thyroid problems, soy is GMO. So they say all kinds of things about soy. But in fact, if you look at the medical literature and nutritional literature, soy reduces prostate cancer consistently. Soy reduces breast cancer consistently. Soy reduces osteoporosis, but not just osteoporosis by X-ray measurement. It also shows that people have less fractures in their old age. Their bones are stronger, they break less in your old age. That's very important. Soy reduces cholesterol. Okay, these are all proven things. And even if it's GMO soy, you get the same benefits. However, organic soy is one of the cheapest organic products available. So you can benefit the environment and get extra health benefits because soy is, like that. So I think that soy milk is the best type of milk replacement from a health point of view, okay? And what we should also make sure is that we're replacing our B12, whether it's from the milk, the soy milk that we get, or some other way. And we should also make sure that we're putting calcium back into our diet as well. I think that there's some great soy milks available in India. One of the bad things, we talk about the environmental bad part of dairy. We should talk more about that. Actually, we'll mention that. But plant-based foods like soy milk can also be bad for the environment if they're packaged in Tetra Paks. Tetra Paks, where you see the Soy Fit and all these things, they're packaged in Tetra Paks. Tetra Paks is one of the worst type of things in the world for the environment, and we're producing billions and billions of packages, okay? So India also has something called spray-dried powdered soy milk. You get this powder, there's at least 2-3 companies producing it. There's gonna be more coming. It's amazing in its taste. It's powdered soy milk, which you put some powder and you use one of those hand blenders and go zoom, 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 okay? And like that, it becomes very creamy, very, very beautiful taste, okay? It takes less packaging than Tetra Paks, much less packaging. It does not require refrigeration. It is easy to transport. It's cheap. It's about 60 rupees per liter, 50 to 60 rupees per liter. So it's very cost effective. So it tastes better than the Tetra Paks as well, and so it's good in all these respects. And I encourage people to do that. I'm talking to some of the manufacturers. I hope they'll add B12, but otherwise, we'll talk about B12 and calcium in a sec anyways, So I think soy is the best. The other ones are good. There's nothing bad about them, but they don't really have the amount of protein. There's a few others coming that has the same amount of protein, but we're still waiting for those, and they're going to be more expensive right now. Soy is very affordable, accessible to people of all socioeconomic levels. Even a poor person, this powdered soy milk, which is really tasty, is still going to be cheaper than dairy milk. So it's a good replacement for everyone.
Thank you,
The soybean produced across the globe is produced for the livestock, right? They are given to the animals to eat.
Yeah, when people say that soybeans are bad for the environment, you got to realize only 6% of soybeans are consumed directly by humans. The vast majority is actually used to feed animals. Yeah. So when they're cutting down forests in Brazil and other countries, they're cutting down the rainforest and everything like that to produce milk and to produce beef and animals. They're using it for animal feed and cutting down the forest. But if people switch to eating just directly soy, then you actually use a very, very much less quantity, and you directly can consume that soy, and you can use less land. And so it's much more environmental if you, eat soy and tofu, things like that directly.
Cool. Would Dr. Rao like to add to that?
Mute. Dr. Rao, you need to unmute.
I had unmuted him.
Okay, yes. Soya, as Dr. Mehta pointed out, most of that soya is being grown to feed animals. And so if people are concerned about, toxins in the soya, it's basically GMO soya that would have that, and that would have, and that would get concentrated in cow's milk even more because the cow is eating that soya. So even if you're concerned about that, you should be drinking soy milk and not cow's milk. So that is something that I want to press. And then the environmental impact of soya, basically it is the reason we are growing GMO soya in the Amazon is because the Amazon is a rainforest and the Amazon seeds are in the soil. So even if you burn down the Amazon wants to come back up. So it wants to regenerate, okay? Because the seeds are there in the soil. So the only way you can grow soya in the Amazon is to pour Roundup on that ground, kill everything that would grow except your GMO soya.
Cool.
This is why we are growing GMO soya in the Amazon. And to me, it's a sacrilege that we're doing that to the Amazon. We're killing the lungs of the earth to grow soya beans that only our animals can eat.
That's right.
I think soya is a very popular topic among the audience. We already have about 8 questions related to soya, but we'll come back to them a little later. We'll go on to the next question to Dr. Rupa Shah. What is a common belief that it's a common belief that milk is a must for calcium. How do we get sufficient calcium this way?
Yeah, so basically milk equal to calcium and meat equal to protein. This concept is very deeply, ingrained into the minds across the globe, not just in India, but in India, of course, more so because there are people who are vegetarian and they have more dairy consumption, not necessarily milk consumption. So suddenly when you say everything all about milk and they get very inspired to give it up, then after a moment they'll say, oh, but what about my calcium? They'll say. So even our textbooks, will have a picture of a glass of milk and the calcium shown next to it, saying that even a child, I take interviews of even very small children, 10 years, where do you get calcium from? Oh, milk gives us calcium, they'll say. So it's very, very ingrained in our minds. But that's because of the dairy industry being very organized and had to find something to market it properly. They clubbed up calcium and milk, and they kept telling people for years and years and years the same thing: milk equal to calcium. You need to drink milk to get calcium. Unfortunately, my doctor colleagues, also say the same thing. My orthopedic surgeons and other people, when a patient goes with some backache or pains or arthritis, they'll say, oh, you must drink 2 glasses of milk. And even after drinking 2 glasses of milk and saying that calcium kam ho gaya body mein, so they start drinking, and they start taking calcium supplements, and yet, nothing happens, nothing improves. In fact, they start putting on more weight, where the doctors told them, you have to reduce weight or you have to lose weight. So even the doctors do not have a very clear idea. We don't have many lectures of nutrition, and we'll end up advising to our patients, either for acidity, drink cold milk, or for some joint pains and here and there, or for some osteoporosis or osteopenia, we say, oh, you must have milk. We'll end up prescribing milk for calcium as a first thing, unfortunately, and then some supplements and then some injections. Now, where does a cow or a buffalo get calcium from? Obviously from the plants, from the greens, whatever they are given, they are eating, or from the dry grass. From there, it's from the plant kingdom. When we take calcium, we think that we'll get calcium from the milk. It's a second hand. You are taking it via. And there are other issues about this bioavailability of this calcium. Although if you go and Google, you will see various notes saying milk is the best source of calcium. It is listed, and there'll be cheese and everything will be shown. So people go and look at it and they think, oh, I must have more and more dairy. So, but there are other factors, like whether are you exercising or not? Are you drinking a lot of colas? Is there anything that's making your body more acidic? Then the calcium needs will be higher, because the calcium that you have been absorbing might not be fully available to your body. So also it's not about just taking calcium. Your body should be able to absorb it, assimilate it, and make it into bones and teeth and whatever else it needs to make. If it is taken in a form which is not assimilated properly, then you have the inner lining of the arteries where the calcium deposits are there, or there are stones. So the calcium is not utilized in the body. So I inspire all my patients that in the plant kingdom, there are very rich sources of calcium. You can assimilate them quite easily, and you can start right from the sesame seeds, and then so all nuts and seeds, almonds also, then all the green leafy vegetables. Even our humble potato has some calcium. And moment you go plant-based, your bodies seem to be needing lesser calcium because there's a less calcium loss, and body can then survive on lesser calcium. But it is more about how much your body needs. It will absorb, it will assimilate. It's never going to do too much or too little. It will try. And one of the most important thing is vitamin D, which is sunshine, and we need to really take care of it. Vitamin D levels have to be right in order to absorb the calcium from the body. Now the old myth should go away and we should replace. It's been many years that we have seen not a single case of osteoporosis for those who have gone on a plant-based diet. I don't see suddenly in 2 years there too many fractures and things like that. None of those things happen. People have look in their eyes, अरे मेरा कुछ और calcium तो और कम नहीं हो जाएगा. So I just said, you are drinking 2 glasses of milk, you are taking calcium supplements. Calcium बढ़ा क्या? नहीं बढ़ाना. तो छोड़ो, try the other way around. Just this afternoon, I had a phone call from a lady in Gujarat who had a lot of arthritic pain and she was obese. And on the phone 1 month ago, I had said only one thing: for 1 month, give up dairy products, and then I will talk to you after 1 month. And then today, very happily smiling, she told me that her pain, arthritic pain, has almost gone and she has lost 1.5 kilo. And she said earlier she tried so much, to lose weight. She used to walk, she used to do calcium supplements, taking the dairy products. Nothing was helping, but very simple. And then she asked me the question, so what do I do, ma'am, now? I said, just continue another month and call me. I'll talk to you. This is how I trick patients. I don't tell them that you should be doing this for your life because they get very scared. But once the pain goes away, once the weight loss happens effortlessly, and asking a very simple question: are you bored? Are you thinking you're doing some diet? Are you craving something? She said, maybe sometimes I feel like having a chocolate. I said, all right, you can have some dark chocolates. Anything else? No, I'm fine. I used to have 2 glasses of buttermilk every day. So I said, are you craving it? Do you want anything? She said, no, I don't want. I'm very comfortable doing what I'm doing. Are you feeling hungry? No, I'm not feeling hungry. I'm not feeling left out. So somehow the taste buds change in a month's time. The pain goes, body feels light. You start walking and you make the connection that dairy is not necessary for calcium.
I just want to comment on osteoporosis for a second. So there is at least one study, there are 1 or 2 studies showing that vegans, people who are plant-based, who did not get enough calcium in their later on years developed more fractures, okay? So osteoporosis doesn't develop in a year or 2, okay? It takes decades to develop. So even if somebody goes vegan in any of our experience, the osteoporosis of the problem is not going to show up until 20 or 30 years later, okay? Maybe 40 years later, 50 years later, depends on your age. It's something that we have to be careful about. So if we're taking dairy out of our diet, okay, we have to make sure that we're getting at least 700 milligrams of calcium or more. If you're pregnant, if you're elderly, if you're breastfeeding, there's certain stages of life where you need more than 700 milligrams of calcium. But the research shows that people getting less than 700, 600 or 700 milligrams calcium, they get more fractures. So Dr. Shah has a very nice book, and Dr. Gina Shah Dr. Rupa Shah has a book, and Dr. Gina Shah in the comments here listed some of the other foods that have good calcium. If you Google vegan calcium, just Google it, you'll see lots of foods that contain amazing levels of calcium that we should all eat on our daily basis, okay? But I also recommend that when people, the companies who produce soy milk should put adequate amount of calcium inside the soy milk. Calcium supplements cause problems in the arteries, as Dr. Rupa Ben mentioned. You get calcium in the arteries and you get other problems. But calcium, when it's in the food, is actually better for us. So we hope that those soy milk powders will add calcium. We want and we want to add all the other good calcium foods into our diet. Osteoporosis is also caused by multiple factors. It's not just a problem of calcium alone. If people have protein deficiency, you're going to get osteoporosis. If you're not eating enough fruits and vegetables, you're going to get osteoporosis. If you don't exercise enough, you'll get osteoporosis. And people who smoke and all those things, that also causes osteoporosis. So we have to look at all the things. Eat enough fruits and vegetables, get enough protein, get enough calcium, probably B12 will play a role as well. okay, and exercise and get a little bit of sunshine on your skin, okay, or maybe supplement for vitamin D. But like a combination of all those things are important, and calcium is one of the factors.
Okay.
So
Thank
I
you,
just
Dr.
wanted to show the book, if everyone can see on the screen. This is the book called as What About My Calcium?
Yeah,
So
it's a beautiful
this
book.
is the plant-based. Everything is plant-based here.
All right. Would Dr. Rao like to add anything to calcium in dairy?
No, I am in the presence of experts here, so there's nothing more I can contribute.
All right. Okay. So the next question is for Dr. Tushar Mehta. What is the importance? Like we've already covered soy and calcium. They're the two hot topics. The third hot topic would be vitamin B12 supplementation. Can you talk about its importance?
Yes. Okay. So everybody should know about vitamin B12. It's one of the most complicated vitamins actually that we need as human beings. Vitamin B12 is created not by animals, not by plants. It's created by microorganisms. Certain types of bacteria create B12. In fact, not even all bacteria create B12. Some bacteria produce it, and then other bacteria, they take it from those other bacteria. You know, they don't produce it themselves, but they get it from the bacteria who produce it, and they share it around. So it comes from the soil. It's present in a lot of times water sources. If you have muddy water or, you know, all kinds of lake water, river water, there's different kinds of bacteria there. And some of those bacteria are making B12. Now we filter our water. When we pick up food, when we go farming or something like that, we wash all the food, okay, before we eat it. And B12 is also present in the poop of animals and the poop of humans, which is mixed in the soil and mixed in all these places. We don't like to eat anybody's poop anymore, right? So we like to wash everything. There's good reasons we should wash our food. We should filter our water. It's good, okay? But the one thing is that we're losing our B12, all right? So now animals, you know, animal foods have B12. Why? Because the animals may be eating food from the ground, okay? But if the animals are brought up in somebody's farm, if they're brought up in a factory farm, even those animals don't get B12, and they add B12 powder into the food. So most of the time when you drink milk, you're actually just having the B12 that comes from powder that is added to the food of the animal. And then it's present in the meat, or it's present in the milk, or it's present in the eggs, okay? So that's where most of the B12 actually comes from. It comes from B12 supplements that's given to the animal. If we're cutting out the milk or meat or eggs from our diet, a lot of people are vegetarian. They may just have milk and they're reducing the milk or cutting out the milk. They're going to lose the B12. People across the world, whether it's Canada, USA, India, China, a lot of people have low B12. Even if they're meat eaters, they're drinking milk, they still have low B12 because just the amounts these days in these foods are low and some people have problems to absorb it. So we should make sure that we get a B12 supplement. If it's, you know, and one of the most reliable things to do is to take about 1,000 or 2,000, 1 to 2,000 micrograms of B12 once a week. If you divide it into smaller amounts, then sometimes you only may need, like, let's say 5 or 10 micrograms if you spread it and have it daily. If you have it 2 or 3 times a week, then maybe you just need like 100 or 200 micrograms, you know, 3 times a week. But everybody's different. And when you get older, people have less absorption. So when you get older, maybe you need a bit more. So I encourage people, test your B12 once in a while, maybe once every year or 2 years. And then you do not need to take injections. That's a myth. If you're switching away from animal foods, it doesn't mean you need an injection. Actually, what really everybody needs is just oral supplements. And whether you're a meat eater, milk eater, vegetarian, or vegan, everybody should probably check their B12 once in a while and take some B12 supplements as needed because everybody gets this problem. It's just very common. Okay? So B12 is very important. If we don't take enough B12, there's a few different diseases that we become more at risk for. And you may lose some of the benefits of being plant-based in your food, or lose the benefits of being a healthy vegan. If your B12 is low, you may get a bit more heart disease, a bit more cancer, and a bit more of a few other things. So let's just check on our B12 and realize it's very important. It should be affordable. So in India, there are B12 tablets that are just like 10 rupees per tablet. I hope that's not too much, but that tablet is 1,500 micrograms or something like that. So if somebody's poor, because I want poor people to have access, not just rich people, you take a little tablet of this, you crush it, one tablet, and you mix it in the food after the food is cooked. You don't, not before the food is cooked, and you sprinkle it on some of the food, okay? And that one tablet, everybody, the whole family can share. And if you do that 2 or 3 times a week, everybody will get enough B12. And it's going to be much cheaper than for the whole family to take it. Now, of course, if people are well-to-do, just take your own B12 once or twice a week, no problem, okay? But it's good to find the cheap sources of B12 available in the Indian market or any country that you're in, and to be able to take the good one. There's different kinds. There's methcobalamin and holocobalamin and all kinds of stuff. But the best one is actually cyanocobalamin. And some people say, oh, cyano, that's bad, there's cyanide. But there's less, it's fine. It's the most stable and reliable form, and it's very, very well absorbed. So that's why we recommend cyanocobalamin. And trust me, fruit has cyanide in it. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't eat fruit. The fruit has more cyanide than a B12 tablet does, okay? It's fine, no problem, okay? Just don't eat 1,000 tablets at the same time, B12. You can, but taking this is no worse than eating fruit. All fruits and vegetables have a tiny bit of cyanide. It's okay. So cyanocobalamin, I think it's the one I recommend. But if there's other ones that are affordable and accessible and to you, then that's probably okay too.
Would the panelists like to add to B12 supplementation?
Yes, I would like to. I usually, as soon as a patient comes, these are B12 and vitamin D. These are the first 2 tests I make sure are done even before they go on a plant-based diet. Because many of them are deficient right before even they are on a plant-based diet. So, otherwise if you don't get it done and suddenly if they get their blood test done, then they say, oh, it is because I went on a plant-based diet or I went vegan. No, it's not like that. You were already deficient. So I just remain very careful that I get a battery of tests done before anything starts on a plant-based diet. I get the entire profile, HbA1c, everything, on paper, your report, your cholesterol, everything is there. Even if it's normal or not normal, get it on the paper first, and then you start. Then when the benefits are seen, then they understand. So this is something across the board. Even those who are eating non-veg food, they are also vitamin B12 deficient or vitamin D. These two I see very often. Some of them have very low iron also, in spite of eating iron-rich foods or something. So this is my
amazing. So that's a lot of amazing information out there, and we are really running out of time.
Also, I wanted to add one more thing is that healthy microbiome in your gut is extremely important. Because of over hygiene, we seem to be destroying our own gut microbiome, these are our friends actually. They are living in our own intestine. They are our friend. They are our army. They are the part of our own immune system. But if we start destroying them, then we are going to end up having more such deficiencies and more vulnerable. So I inspire people to have a very healthy intestine with very healthy microbiome. It also means that on your skin also there are bacteria. Don't keep washing and over hygiene, you need them. They are protective. They are symbiotic bacteria. They're living with us. You need them. So that's the problem now, that the concept of always killing everything is not the way. Living in harmony with the entire universe, the whole planet, with all beings, with the plants, with the trees, with air, water, everything we have to live. They are part of us. We are not supreme. We are one of this. And if we disturb, then it will backfire.
Oh, great. Dr. Rao, would you like to add to that? Okay.
It's great. Thank you.
So we'll go on to the next question to Dr. Tushar Mehta. That what is your favorite dairy alternative available in India?
So I just had my recent wedding in India, actually. That was in February, and just before all the lockdown happened, we were very lucky. And it was a vegan wedding, so we had no animal products, and we also tried to make it plastic free. We had no disposable plastics or anything like that. And I was very lucky. Dr. Rupa Shah was there actually at the wedding too. And so we had a really good time. So I experimented with as many dairy alternatives as I could. And I tried all the different ones, and I tested them on my family to see which ones they like. The spray dried powdered soy milk that I mentioned before, we took that powder, we put enough so that per 250 ml glass, we're going to get about 7 or 8 grams of protein. So, you know, whatever it says on the instructions, I actually put a little extra to make it a little bit thicker. Okay. And that's why the price for 1 liter will be about, let's say 60 rupees, because I'm adding extra. If you didn't add extra, it might be a little bit cheaper. And we use the hand blender to zoom, and you can make tea from it. You can make coffee from it. You could put a tiny bit of sugar in it, because dairy milk contains 6 grams of sugar per 250 ml. So if you add like the equivalent amount of sugar, it gives it a tiny bit of taste, but it's not too much sugar. We don't want to add a lot of sugar. You can do that if you want to. And the stuff tastes amazing. And like I said, it's cost effective, does not require refrigeration. It is light and easy to transport, and there's 2 companies that I like. So one company is called MK, EMKAY. It's based in Ahmedabad. And what they do is they add a little bit of flavor that comes, a little flavor, extra flavor in there. They call it a natural flavor. I don't know what exactly it is, but it makes it taste, it gives it a bit of a milk taste, a milk flavor. Okay. And so that's an amazing product. The other product that I really like is one called Urban Platter. Okay. Now, Urban Platter, it doesn't add, it's the same thing. It's spray dried soy milk, tastes the same, except it doesn't have that flavor. But the advantage of this one is it gives you a nice plastic dabba, okay? Nice plastic dabba, and you can unscrew the top and you can use it. And that dabba that you use after you finish it, you can use that for other things inside of your kitchen, okay? And so you can continue to reuse the packaging, which is very important. Ultimately, I think we'd like to have something that has 0 packaging, and there's different kinds of ideas I have about that it can be done. I think it can really be done, but we should also be concerned about the packaging. So there's much less packaging, and in this second case, you can have a reusable packaging. Other companies are coming up. There's one called Good Dot, and Good Dot is going to have a spray-dried soy milk, and they're going to be very good, and I'm talking to that company as well as the others, trying to make sure that they all add B12 and calcium to their products. Okay, so those are the best ones. While we're on the topic, and I know we're running out of time, I wanted to mention 2 other things. Dairy and animal products are very much responsible for deforestation and environmental problems. Okay, we have to cut down a lot of trees and a lot of forest to create the land to grow food to feed these animals. Instead, if we ate those food directly, we would need a lot less land. Okay, because if you have to feed an animal 4 grams of protein to get 1 gram of protein in the milk. So that means you have to feed a lot more food to get a lot less food back. So not only is there a health benefit, but there's a huge ecological benefit by using less land and less water and all these things, okay? Dairy and cattle are also responsible for climate change. Through deforestation, you cut down the forests, and the CO2s produced when the forests are burned down, and also the methane that is emitted from the ruminant. You know, when they digest things, they kind of burp, and this methane is released from their mouth. And that contributes a huge amount to global warming. And Dr. Rao is a big expert on all these things that I'm talking about, so maybe he'll comment more. The second thing I wanted to mention is that right now, of course, we are in the grip of this global pandemic that has devastated everybody on Earth. Now, the breeding of animals, when we breed animals, chickens, pigs, cows, and all the wet markets and everything like that, we're always generating and coming into contact with new mutations and new kinds of viruses, okay? And that's what caused the current pandemic. It happened to come from China. But a lot of people don't realize that HIV comes from animals that people were harvesting, like, you know, in Africa. Ebola comes from the same thing. Influenza comes from chickens every year, and the avian flu that comes out that's very dangerous and can be much, much more dangerous will come in the future from chickens. There's going to be more dangerous versions of the flu, okay? From cows, which is the predominant animal, one of the predominant animals in India, most people don't realize that smallpox, this disease that caused so much devastation around the world, originally came from a cowpox type virus. And there's mutations from all these animals. And one of those mutations happened to be very dangerous and got into humans and caused smallpox, okay? We've eradicated smallpox, But cowpox and other types of similar viruses, camel pox and monkeypox, and all these things still exist. But because cows are in the greatest number, and the cowpox was the virus that smallpox originally came from, we are also at risk that a new version of smallpox can come from cattle. So we can have a pandemic, and India has the most number of cows of any country in the world. And this type of the cowpox may come from Canada or the US or Australia, but it may also come from India, and it has a higher chance because we just have more cows and more contact with cows, and then a higher chance of a new type of pandemic coming from cows as well. So this is also a big risk that can devastate people in India and across the world as well. So we have to realize that these zoonotic pandemics, these deadly viruses, come from animals. And it's not just going to be China, it can be any country. It just depends on what kind of animals you have. And that kind of virus will eventually come, given enough time. Okay, because you're always getting these mutations in these viruses, and it's just going to be bad luck one day. But it's predictable that every few years we're going to have some problem, and cowpox and smallpox type virus is one of the big risks that we're going to get from cows and dairy production.
Also, there are salmonella and E. coli and also mycobacterium.
Right.
These are already
Right.
from the milk origin.
Yes.
Our population is already affected by it. There is also a problem of antibiotic resistance, because this animal given so many antibiotics, it's going in our stomach, our bacteria becoming resistant, and we need to use higher and higher antibiotics. Even it's a challenge really to have multi-drug resistant tuberculosis resurgence.
Yeah. About 15 to 20% of all tuberculosis comes from cattle into humans.
Okay.
And Dr. Rupa Shah, I was focused on the viral pandemics. I'm so glad you brought it up. But most of the waterborne illnesses, like the E. coli and the diarrhea illnesses, that kills actually millions of children and babies and elderly people every year. They come from humans, but they even more come from animals, and that contaminate the water, and then we get this water contamination that affects humans as well. And so many of the other diseases. So, and antibiotic resistance, even in the villages, I see people giving shots of antibiotics to their animals all the time. And they go to the village guy who has a cow, just goes to the store, buys an injection, and gives a big dose of antibiotics. And we're getting antibiotic resistance all over the world because of the use in animals, including cows.
So that's a lot of pharmaceutical industries producing, I think, 2/3 of the antibiotics usages in the livestock. Animal agriculture.
Maybe even more than that. Yes.
More than that,
That's
maybe
true.
75%.
Yeah.
That was a lot of information. And we come to the final concluding question to Dr. Shailesh Rao, that will the world go vegan by 2026? You have a pinky promise to your granddaughter.
Right. Thank you so much for that question. Yes, I made a pinky promise to my granddaughter. And when I did that in 2016, I had no idea this could be done or not. But I just had an intention. I wanted to do it for her because she was crying about it. And so I put that intention out, and people started coming. People started helping, joining base camp. So we have now a large group of people working on this. And you look at this panel, you look at people talking about this. So we all know that that's the only way out for the world to go vegan. That's the only way out for us to get to a thriving planet, to a thriving civilization again. So we need to change our way of living, our organization, so that we are always not treating animals with cruelty. Yeah? So we have to treat animals with kindness. That's the only thing that's sustainable. Kindness is sustainable. Cruelty is not. Ahimsa is sustainable. Violence is not. Truth is sustainable. Lies are not. So we know these things, and knowing that, and we are in this pandemic where we are being put into this chrysalis phase, made to think about what it is that we've been doing, why we are in the state that we are in, why we lost 120 million jobs in India, 40 million jobs in the US. I mean, do we want to go back to the way things were, or do you want to move on and do something different? So we have been asked to think about this. And going vegan is very simple. You start eating this instead of that. You start wearing this instead of that. You start treating animals with kindness instead of treating them with cruelty. It's a simple transformation. It's for us to do as a species. For the animals on the planet, it's a matter of life and death. The planet will be okay. The planet will get rid of all of us and start over again. She has no problem with a million-year hiatus in biodiversity. Planet will always come back. But if we want our children to thrive, and if you want us to thrive on this planet, this is the time for us to make that transformation to a vegan world. And we can do it. And especially India. My God, India has ahimsa in her DNA. Everyone has that in her DNA. And India is where the spiritual wealth of the world came from. And so we are asking us to return back to that spiritual wealth and actually start doing things as we say. It's nothing different than, just saying, can you keep your word? If you say you're this, can you really do it? And so this is why I think it's going to happen very quickly. So I use the analysis, I use the analogy of a house on fire. If a house is on fire, wouldn't you say that the first thing you need to do is to stop throwing fuel on the fire? That is veganism. Okay? There's nothing extraordinary you're doing. You're just stopping to throw fuel on the fire, so which is the most rational thing to do. And then you have to convince your fellow residents to stop throwing fuel on the fire, because we all live in the same home. That is vegan advocacy, which again is a very natural thing we should be doing, because we know that the house is on fire and we have stopped throwing fuel on the fire. So you have to convince our friends and family to stop throwing fuel on the fire, so that once we stop throwing fuel on the fire, then we can organize bucket brigades to put out the fire. There's a lot of work to be done beyond that. Okay, then you have to put out the fire, then you have to rebuild our home. So that's the cleanup work that needs to be done, and the regeneration work that needs to be done. So this is why I say the world will be vegan by 2026. I'm so, now I see it much more clearly than I did just 3 months ago.
Amazing.
So it's as if the caterpillar is turning to the butterfly in front of my eyes, and I see us in the chrysalis phase, and I see us coming out as butterflies. Maybe sooner than 2026, who knows? And then I can tell my granddaughter that I fulfilled my promise to her.
It's a beautiful intention out there. And would the panelists like to add to that? Oh,
Well,
hello.
It's hard to say anything better than what.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, great. The whole world's changed because of that promise to her. Anyway, cool. Hello.
Oh, hello.
There are 110 people here across India and even outside India, Kimaya. And your grandfather is already changing half the world or maybe more. So thanks to you. Okay.
I was just to add that every disease comes with a lesson for us to learn. And unless we learn that lesson, the disease will not go away. Neither the condition, everything, we have to learn a lesson. There is no other way. There is no shortcut. There is no magic wand. We will have to learn the lesson. If we don't learn lesson, it will keep coming back in different forms till we wake up. And till we correct, till we change the cause.
Okay. So thank you very much to all the panelists. We have let's start with the question and answer session from the audience. We have more than 20 questions and we don't have enough time. So I would request the panelists to limit the answers to about not more than 1 or 2 minutes per question. So then we'll be able to answer all the questions. So my first question from the audience is from Evangeline. So if we have a cow at home and we do everything as nature says, can humans consume milk? Is it good for humans?
I'd like to say that even if you have a cow at home, okay, then the dairy produced from that cow is still going to have the same long-term health problems that we talked about. So yes, you'll get calcium and protein, but instead, if you get calcium, protein, or B12 and B12 from a plant-based type of food, a healthy plant-based type of food, then that's going to be better for you. Secondly, it's going to still have environmental problems because you're going to use more, it's going to create methane and greenhouse gas emissions. And you're going to have to, give, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 grams of protein for every 1 gram of protein you get back. So the net consumption of food and impact on the earth is going to be higher as well. The cow has to be made pregnant every single year. And that's one thing we didn't talk about. I have a video called Dairy Production and Cow Slaughter in India. And every time the baby is made pregnant, you have a baby boy. That baby boy is usually not useful to anyone. And they're all getting slaughtered across India. And after 2-3 years, when you have so many baby girls as well, you're going to use one of the baby girls instead. So you're probably going to end up giving away the mother, and somebody's probably going to kill the mother, So the system is never going to be sustainable. If you have a cow at home already, then the best thing we can do is take care of that cow for the rest of that cow's life and treat her as part of the family, or the babies as part of the family. But if we're making them pregnant every year, then we're contributing this whole cycle of health problems, environmental problems, and eventually killing of the animal problems, because animal sanctuaries can only take a small percentage of all these animals, but 99% of them are going to end up being killed or dying early.
All right. So the next question is
from Dr. Tushar, those videos are on Circle of Health YouTube channel, the one that you mentioned about. And also there are about 8 videos of vegan wedding of Dr. Tushar, of various foods that people have eaten and how it was done. Those videos are on Circle of Health YouTube channel.
Cool. I'm coming to the next question from Vinay Kumar Mishra to Dr. Tushar Mehta and Dr. Rao, that they want to hear about scientific evidence to all your statements. So maybe there's a way that we can share links.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
Dr. Shailesh Rao and Tushar Mehta have already got a lot of information on the climate healers and plant-based data websites, which I'm going to be sharing very soon in this group chat box. There's a lot of great feedback from Nivi Jaswal and a few other people, but I'm just skipping to the questions now. Okay. Oat milk is the difference between oat milk and other milks. Rita Shah asks, every day, can we consume soy milk every day?
Okay, so number one, oat milk is nice. It tastes great. I've tasted it. I love it, but it has very little protein. You're talking about 2 grams of protein when you should be having 7 or 8 grams of protein. Okay, so this is a very important topic. Okay, because if you have people like a lot of my family consuming 30, 40, or even 50% of their protein from dairy, depending on their selection of foods, you can't just take it out and put something that has almost no protein in it. Okay, so definitely, soy milk is really good. Dr. Rupa Shah also has a peanut milk recipe, but you have to put the right amount of peanuts or the right amount of soybeans or whatever to get the protein that you target. Okay, so this has to be done properly. Okay, and that's important. So I prefer soy milk, but soy still has the best evidence. You can get cheap organic soy, and it's amazing to help reduce cancers and those things. So the best has the bulk of scientific evidence. The other plant milks may do similar benefits, but we just don't have the scientific research to really prove it as of yet. So I'm biased towards soy, but open towards other things that also have high protein as well. Okay, oat milk, you can use it once in a while, but remember, make sure you're getting 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body mass per day. Make sure you're getting that much. I hope that, and yes, you can consume it every single day. Only people who consume it every single day, people in Asian studies, people in China who are consuming like 2 or 3 servings of soy every single day of their life, those are the people who have less prostate cancer and less breast cancer. So to get the benefit, occasional soy consumption does not give you those anti-cancer benefits. Okay. It's daily consumption that gives you the benefit.
So, Nitish Kothari has raised 2 questions about soya. He's asked, soya is highest inflicted by pesticides. And his next question is, how can GMO and pesticides inflected soya reduce cancer?
The thing is that all of your foods, see, there's a propaganda that soy is worse than other foods, but your rice has pesticides and GMO. Your wheat is GMO and has pesticides. all of your foods, even the chicken is GMO, and in the West, all of our cows are GMO. And even in India, if you're feeding your cow different foods, they're eating GMO foods. So those pesticides and everything, as Dr. Rao mentioned, actually concentrate into very high concentrations in the cow, okay, and in the dairy, compared to if you eat the soy, just regular soy, just, you know, like that. So the people in China where they did the research, they were not eating organic soy, they were eating regular soy. But what probably happens is they're, on the one hand, they're eating less meat, and on the other hand, so they're getting less pesticides from the less meat because they happen to eat more soy. And soy intrinsically has some protective factors. Even though there may be some pesticides in it, it has protective factors in the soy. But the good news is that you can also buy organic soy. And organic foods are more expensive, but organic soy is not so expensive. Out of all the different organic foods, organic soy is one of the cheapest organic foods. So great, let's get a fully organic version of soy, and you could probably have even better benefits compared to that. But but just note that the research was not done with organic soy. It's just done with, regular soy, and those are Asian studies. But the alternative foods people were eating were also having pesticides anyways, right? So that's not a question of that,
Okay. So the next question is from Aditya Notial. Is it right to claim that kids who consume dairy in excessive amounts hit puberty sooner than natural?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead, Rupa Ben.
Yeah, so now we are seeing the puberty happening in young girls. Menstruation starts as early as 8 and 9 years. That is because of the hormones that are given to the a cow, or the buffalo. What happens is that when a mother is pregnant and then she's not given any antibiotics, when she's breastfeeding, she's not given all heavy medicines, antibiotics, because the breast milk will secrete those antibiotics and it will go to baby. And so your dentist will ask you. In glass bottles, and there were various color.
Okay.
Or the buffalo. That's my previous. So what happens is that so you be so careful when you breastfeed your own baby. At that time, you don't take antibiotics. And now this animal is, given everything, hormones, and that glass of milk comes on your table. You forget to ask the questions that what antibiotics the mother of this milk has, taken. And so earlier, puberty is seen nowadays because of this, and also too much use of plastics, and there are pherohormones that also stimulates the growth. Okay.
Also, even if you're having 100% organic milk, every cow has her own hormones in her body.
Right.
And that hormones is very, very high level. And the milk is a food that's made for the baby cow to grow very fast, right? But when those, so even if it's organic milk, it's still very heavy in hormones, even if no extra hormones are added. So either which way, the dairy milk has a lot of hormones.
Okay. Neeraj Jain asks, I listen from Shri Rajiv Dikshit videos. Soya products are for pigs. Humans do not digest soya protein. Please clarify.
Well, I just want you to go watch the movie called The Game Changers. Has anybody heard of that movie, The Game Changers?
Yes.
If you have not heard about that movie, it's on Netflix, or you can download it somehow. Brilliant. And you can see that these people who are eating plant proteins are digesting them fine, and they're turning into world-class athletes. Soy protein is one of the most easily digestible plant proteins, actually, that there is. But remember, all plants have protein. So all of our beans and legumes and lentils have protein in them. Fantastic. Soya has a higher amount of protein than all the other beans and legumes and pulses. Okay, it's the kind of the king of the pulses, you can say. But all of them are really good for us, and we should eat all of them. It's not we should only eat soy. We should eat a mix of all these things, because everyone has something unique to give to us. All of the grains, so wheat and oats, but all the Indian grains like millet and nachni and all of these fantastic Indian things, they all have roughly 10% of protein. So those are good to consume as well, okay? Mm-hmm. Remember to eat them as whole foods. So definitely soy is totally digestible. People have been eating it thousands of years in Asian countries. And tofu is a great substitute for paneer. And there's all kinds of amazing things out there. And it's not just about soy. Some people may have a soy allergy. Great. Well, there's other things that you can take, you know, and in that case, go for this oat milk, but make sure you're getting lots of other lentils and pulses to get your protein, right? So there's lots of ways of doing this. It doesn't have to be that you eat soy, okay? But I'm just saying it's one great option for everybody, but there's lots of other things too. Just make sure we do it in an intelligent way. So you get the calcium, B12, protein, and eat whole foods and your fruits and vegetables and everything else that you need too.
Okay.
In this part of the world, like we do not see peanut allergies, that it is seen more in the Western world. So in this part of the India, I mean, we are using peanuts and chana, you know, peanuts and chana, very high protein. We give it to small children as they are growing up with a little bit of jaggery. So we also have our indigenous, very nice, cheaper options available.
Vinita Punjabi asks, the China study claims that casein protein from dairy is directly related to cancer. Do you think that this is the primary reason for increase in cancer cases in India?
Yes, here is the China study book I'm carrying. Want to show it to everybody. This is the book that everybody needs to read it once. It's really a big one, but it has all the research.
The China study, so everybody should also, you could get the book, but also see the movie called Forks Over Knives,
Nice.
okay? Forks Over Knives, that movie will summarize the China study, and it's fun to watch as well, and has a lot of good information, and there's a good website which shows nutrition information from there. But remember, the China study is a very small study done in the 1980s. Maybe 4,000 or 5,000 people involved in that study. Since that time, we have much bigger and much better studies showing over and over and over and over again that animal products increase cancer, increase heart disease, okay? It's not just the casein. Casein probably is a factor because it increases a hormone called IGF-1, and there's a lot of things that animal protein does to us. But there's also other factors, the different types of fats, the different types of chemicals, the different types of many, many different factors in animal protein and animal fat that increase our likelihood of cancer and heart disease and diabetes. Okay, so it's not just one thing, it's a multiple things. And when it comes to, let's say, soy or plant proteins and everything like that, it's not just one component that is giving us the benefit. It's a mix of all of those components that give us the benefit. So I never tell people just take one vitamin that's like, you know, lectin from tomatoes, or sorry, not lectin, but lycopene from tomatoes, or you know, soy isoflavin pills. No, eat the whole foods. The only vitamins we really want to make sure we take is especially B12 and maybe vitamin D, but you know, but the rest of it is something that generally we're going to get from our amazing foods.
Okay. Dr. Hetal Parekh asks, does the estrogen level in soy cause hormonal imbalance on consumption?
The short answer is no. There is no hormone. There is no estrogen in soy. I'm going to say it again. There is no estrogen in soy. Okay? No estrogen in soy. I'll say it the third time. This is a false thing that is promoted everywhere. There is something called isoflavones. Now, isoflavones do have a little bit of attraction to estrogen receptors, but they don't act like an estrogen. They may have a tiny estrogen effect, but they also have a blocking effect where they block estrogens too. So the net effect is it sort of changes how estrogens impact the body. Sometimes they may have a tiny effect, and in other ways they block the effect of estrogen. So they may be responsible for actually strengthening bones, but they're also responsible for reducing breast cancer, reducing prostate cancer. On the other hand, if you eat meat from a female animal that has animal estrogen, which is 100% active in the human body. If you eat eggs, eggs come from the ovary of a chicken. It has animal estrogen, and that is 100% impactful in the human body. And if you have milk, milk contains very high amounts of animal estrogen, which is 100% having an animal estrogen effect in the human body. So animal products actually have real estrogen, and plants like soy and other plants do not have a real estrogen. They have isoflavones, which act very differently than real estrogen does in the body. It's a lie, that's promoted everywhere, that soy contains estrogen.
Okay. Shailesh Siddappa asks, what about shots? I had an observation issues and it came to know. I'm not clear about her question. Let me move on. A
Maybe
lot
it's
of
about
questions
B12
have
shots.
been answered by Nivi Jaswal and Dr. Jeena. So I'm skipping all those questions and a lot of heavy discussion here. Okay, Neil Song Den asks, in hot summers, we are told to drink chas buttermilk. I am asked to drink chas to stop stomach from burning sensation. What alternatives do we have?
A brilliant alternative. Two brilliant alternatives. I love Indian alternatives. My favorite one is sattu. Sattu, most Indian people don't know about it because it comes from certain areas. It's the roasted gram flour, which they mix with water and a little bit of lemon juice and some masala, and it tastes amazing. And it's an Indian drink, and it has good protein as well, so it's fantastic. And sol kadhi, made from coconut milk, is a Maharashtrian drink, which is also amazing. But you can also now get some different yogurts made from like soy yogurt and peanut yogurt and what did we have? Cashew. Yeah, we had some amazing things. And coconut, this coconut chas is amazing as well. We had that at my wedding. It's really easy to make. Coconut chas.
Okay.
There's a book called as Dairy Alternatives. It's there in 3 languages. It has lovely recipes of this. You can see the sol curry that he was describing and all other buttermilk, especially made for Indian people.
Okay. Trupti Khan is asking, can we view or share a recorded session with family and friends? Trupti, it's already being shared live on Compassion page, on my Nandita Kaparia on my page, and I've shared the link on 2-3 other web pages on Facebook. So you will catch us there. We are live and you can share that. Thanks. Let me move on. Okay, discussion. Okay, Nivi Jaswal asks that, do you have a blog about your vegan wedding? Dr. Tushar.
I think Rupa Ben has some links in her website, so she can maybe present that. And there's some newspaper articles, so we can forward them if anybody's interested. Although I don't think my wedding is as important as the other resources from Dr. Rao and Dr. Rupa Ben and everything like that. But certainly if anybody else is interested in a vegan wedding, then I'd love to share notes.
Okay, Radhika Agarwal wants to ask about, you can share all the articles and all the links. We will be sharing it shortly. If I share it now, all the questions will shoot up. I'm just running through it. I have 86 more messages to run through. Sorry. A lot of them are appreciating the talks. And I think Shailesh Rao and Dr. Tushar have already shared quite a few links. Just give me a minute, please.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Neeraj Jain asks, is ghee useful for humans?
That's a very good question. So animal fats increase cancer, increase heart disease compared to plant-based fats. But even the plant-based fats, some are worse, like coconut oil and palm oil are high in saturated fat. And I know that coconut oil, everybody thinks it's some kind of a fad right now, but the research shows that it's a saturated fat. We shouldn't have it. And other plant-based oils, we should also consume them in moderation. People eat too much oil in India. Okay, so very little oil. We want to reduce it. Some people go 0 oil. If you really want to reduce your diabetes and really want to reduce your heart disease and reverse your heart disease, people go on an oil-free diet completely even. Okay, so low oil, animal and plant-based, healthy plant-based fats like, canola oil, soybean oil, and some of the other oils, but avoiding palm oil, that means avoiding Maggi, okay, and avoiding coconut oil as well. Now, when you have butter, it's an animal fat. It's just like the beef lard or anything like that. It has the same problems in the human body. It's an animal fat. It's going to be more cancer, more heart disease. When you heat that animal fat at a high temperature, like when we make ghee, which we in English we call clarified butter, you increase the amount of chemical changes that occur, making it even more cancerous and more causing more heart problems. Look at the amount of heart problems and diabetes and everything that people have in India. It's crazy, okay? In the old days, like in the old days, people used to die of malnutrition. They didn't get enough food. And that time, if you had meat or animal fat or ghee or milk, people liked it because it gave a lot of protein and calories at one time. In China, people loved soy milk or soybeans because you get a lot of calories and protein at one time. But now we have so many options. Our goal is not just surviving. Our goal is to live until we're like 90 or 100, you know, and still be active, okay? So for that goal, you don't want ghee, which maybe help you just survive in a bad situation. You want to have the plant-based foods, which will help you survive and keep your mind and heart strong till you're 100, hopefully.
Okay.
I think the ghee is a highly processed food.
Mm-hmm.
It's not natural and no fiber, it's just pure fat. Only India, you know, this concept, ghee is a must and all. But across the globe, people haven't heard about ghee. And yet their joints remain well and they remain healthy. So ghee is not must for health.
Okay. Okay, Gopi Hariharan asks, E. coli is known as an indicator organism. Why?
I'm not sure what you mean by indicator organism. Do you mean that they measure it for water contamination to see if water is, how much affected it is, that you can get sick from that water? So generally, if there's a lot of animal waste or human waste going into the water, you'll get more E. coli. You can measure the E. coli levels and you can tell something about the safety of the water from the infection point of view.
Okay. Quite a few people are inquiring whether there is a WhatsApp group where they can access all these resources and recipes for transitioning. So we will probably connect them.
Maybe create a nice WhatsApp group.
Yes, we can create a WhatsApp group. There are lots of groups on Facebook also who provide lots of alternatives and recipes. I think we are more or less done with all the questions. We are done with all the questions, and I would like to thank the panelists a lot for the amazing information provided in this session. A lot of remarkable insights and a lot of information that everyone can use. So thanks a lot, Dr. Tushar, Dr. Shailesh Rao, Dr. Rupa Shah. I think I'll share the links of all the resources now.
Yeah, I hope everybody will look at the links. Everybody, you know, Dr. Rupa Shah, Dr. Shailesh Rao have amazing links with so much information. I have my videos about nutrition and environment there and plant-based data too. So hopefully these can be shared further and everybody can keep learning and sharing that information with other people.
Okay.
Dr. Sailesh, you want to say something?
Well, let's get to a vegan world as soon as possible. Thank you for making it happen.
Yes.
Thank you to everybody. I request everybody present in this session to please share, like, and follow Climate Healers. Please like and share and follow plant-based data. Please do the same for Compassion, Circle of Health, and Kitchen Doctors. We're all collecting resources independently and collectively to make transitioning towards a vegan life easier and more accessible to everybody. So thank you. We will be creating a WhatsApp group and we'll share all the groups on Compassion page, and each of the panelists will be sharing these links on their respective pages. So you cannot copy it from this chat, but we'll be sharing it on Compassion page. So please copy it from there. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.